In 1908, in the Badlands of Wyoming, a fossil hunter named Charles Sternberg pulled something out of the rock that shouldn't have existed. Not a skeleton, not a collection of bones. Something with skin still on it. Scales preserved in stone, pressed into the rock in 3 dimensions across 2/3 of the body. The outline of muscle mass, a fleshy crest running the length of the spine, hooves on the toes, the shape of the last animal that ever wore this body locked in geological time. A dinosaur mummy. It was the first one ever found. Scientists at the American Museum of Natural History had no name for what they were looking at. They called it what it was, a mummy, and coined the term on the spot. The animal was Edmontosaurus, a hadrosaur, a duck-billed herbivore, the cow of the Cretaceous. You think you know what this animal was. You don't. T-Rex is the most studied, most documented, most feared predator in the history of life on land. It dominated the Hell Creek ecosystem for millions of years. Nothing in that world could challenge it directly. Nothing in that world had the armor, the size, or the weaponry to stand against it face to face. And yet, Edmontosaurus thrived there. No horns, no armor, no tail club, no venom. 40 feet of muscle and bone with a face that looked like a duck and a body the size of a city bus, and it outlasted almost everything in that ecosystem until the asteroid came for them all at once. That is not a coincidence. That is a strategy. The first thing to understand about Edmontosaurus is how common it was. In the fossil record of the Hell Creek Formation, the final chapter of the dinosaur era in North America, Edmontosaurus appears so frequently that paleontologists have used it as an index fossil, a marker of that specific moment in time. It was not a rare creature scraping out survival at the margins. It was one of the most abundant large animals on the continent. How? In a world with T-Rex in it? The answer begins with speed. Computer modeling studies in 2007, using data from the Dakota mummy specimen, found that Edmontosaurus had substantially more muscle mass in the legs and tail than previously estimated. Once you factor in that muscle mass, roughly 25% larger than earlier reconstruction suggested, T-Rex, by comparison, maxed out somewhere between 12 and 17 miles per hour. The bone stress required for higher speeds would have been mechanically dangerous for an animal of 9,000 kilograms. Edmontosaurus could likely outrun T-Rex. In a chase, the numbers favor the prey. But here is what makes this more interesting than a simple foot race. Edmontosaurus did not rely on solo survival. It lived in herds. Bone beds across North America contain hundreds, in some cases thousands, of Edmontosaurus individuals fossilized together, an arrangement that indicates group movement and group living at massive scale. There is safety arithmetic in that. A T-Rex stalking a herd of 1,000 animals faces a targeting problem that does not exist when hunting a single individual. Every extra body in the herd is a dilution of predation risk. Every pair of eyes is an early warning system. The behavior of a herd of animals that have lived alongside apex predators for millions of years is not random. It is a tuned system for threat detection and collective response. The cow of the Cretaceous was not a victim. It was a numbers game that evolution had been playing and winning for over 10 million years. Speed was the emergency plan. What actually ran Edmontosaurus's dominance was its mouth. Most animals have one row of teeth. Edmontosaurus had a battery, up to 60 columns per jaw, with 3 to 6 teeth stacked vertically in each column, constantly replacing themselves from below as the ones above wore down. The total tooth count across both jaws exceeded 1,000 at any given time. But the number is the least interesting part. A 2016 study published in VMC Evolutionary Biology described the Edmontosaurus dental battery as the most complex dental system in the history of vertebrate evolution. Not most complex among dinosaurs, most complex of any vertebrate, including modern mammals. Each tooth had up to 6 distinct tissue types. Most other dinosaurs had 2, and mammals max out at 4. The teeth were diamond-shaped and coated with enamel on one side only, so the 2 jaw surfaces wore against each other asymmetrically, self-sharpening as they ground. New teeth continuously erupted from behind and below the functional surface in a conveyor belt system that ran without interruption for the entire animal's lifetime. The jaw movement wasn't simple up and down crushing. Analysis of Hadrosauria jaw mechanics suggests the lower jaw flexed slightly outward during the chewing stroke, a palinal chewing motion with no modern equivalent, allowing a grinding action that could process material too tough or too fibrous for almost anything else in that ecosystem to eat. This mouth could handle conifer bark, woody stems, pine needles, and silica-rich plant material that would destroy a lesser jaw within months. In a late Cretaceous landscape of tough cycads, conifers, and early flowering plants, that capability was an ecological superpower. Edmontosaurus could extract calories from food sources that were functionally unavailable to competitors. It did not compete with every other large herbivore for the best food. It ate the food nobody else could eat. That is what drove the abundance, not just survival, dominance through caloric access.
Now for the evidence that reframes everything. There is a fossil in the scientific record, a set of Edmontosaurus tail vertebrae documented in a study of T-Rex predation behavior, with a T-Rex tooth embedded in the bone. Not in bone that was gnawed after death, embedded in bone that subsequently healed. New bone growth forming around the wound, the infection clearing, the animal surviving. T-Rex bit it in the tail, and the Edmontosaurus tore free and lived long enough for the bone to grow back around the impact. Think about what that requires. 9,000 kilograms of predator. Bite force documented at over 34,000 newtons, the strongest bite force measured in any terrestrial animal in the fossil record. And the Edmontosaurus was powerful enough to wrench itself loose and outrun the follow-up. Not by luck, by design. Those massive hind leg muscles, the same ones the 2007 modeling study used to revise the speed estimates, were built for exactly this scenario. A burst of acceleration from a standing start, tearing away from a contact bite, and putting distance between itself and a predator that could not sustain a high-speed chase over distance. T-Rex needed a clean ambush, from cover to a vulnerable target. If it missed the neck or the spine, it had to let the prey go. Its own speed and bone structure made extended pursuit too expensive. And Edmontosaurus had evolved over millions of years to make that ambush harder. The panoramic eyes, set wide on the sides of the skull, gave an almost 360-degree field of vision, the widest possible surveillance zone for an animal that needed to detect threats before they closed. The herd structure multiplied that surveillance across hundreds or thousands of individuals simultaneously. The hunt was not a guaranteed outcome for either side. That is why the healed bite mark matters so much. It is not an outlier or an anomaly. It is a data point from a predator-prey relationship that had been running for millions of years. A relationship where both sides had reached extraordinary levels of capability precisely because of the pressure each placed on the other. T-Rex was the fastest evolving, most powerful ambush predator in the history of land vertebrates. Edmontosaurus was the most abundant large prey animal in the same ecosystem. One did not exist without the other. Edmontosaurus did not lose to T-Rex. After millions of years of that arms race, millions of years during which neither predator nor prey gained a permanent advantage, Edmontosaurus was still one of the most abundant large animals on the continent when the asteroid arrived. It didn't go extinct because it was weak. It didn't go extinct because T-Rex finally found the edge. It went extinct because the world itself broke. The Chicxulub impactor hit at 66 million years ago. The dust and aerosols it injected into the atmosphere blocked photosynthesis globally for years. The food chain collapsed from the bottom up. Plants first, then the animals that ate them. An animal that could process more plant matter more efficiently than almost anything in its ecosystem became useless in weeks. The hooves, the crest, the speed, the 1,000 teeth, all of it precisely optimized for a specific world that no longer existed. Something that mastered its world so completely that the only thing capable of ending it was a mountain falling from the sky. The cow of the Cretaceous, the apex prey of the Hell Creek, the most successful large herbivore of the last chapter of the dinosaur era. It was not a victim. It was a sovereign, and the rock remembers it.